He's got plans. He's got plans for cool story, bro.
What? I heard some of what he wants to do. He wants to stick the gem in their chest.
Yes, that's basically what he wants to. He was asking Ardell, like, so grapple with the reason for it is because Carl's angry, he's stealing all the heals.
Yeah, and well, I looked just to make sure. I looked back to see what the actual rule was, and the rule just flat out says no PvP.
Yep.
And I sent you messages that on Discord.
Oh.
I sent you screenshots of.
Oh yeah, Discord sometimes doesn't come out very well.
Basically, it was just a conversation between him and me. Someone want to bring it up in the next game. Play with you. Soon it goes down, rushing into battle again. Committing an evil action, shooting him while he's down. Like I said, I would, and we ended up having the whole conversation. He says, "Okie dokie, don't forget the no PvP rule, though." That's why I'm telling you ahead of time. Then I had the conversation with them, and this is the message I sent to him. Followed. I talked to him, warned him what would happen if he kept being suicidal, and he became more suicidal. Next time I'm going to kill him. Fuck the PvP rule. Kick me out now if you don't want that to happen. But either way, I'm not going to be playing with Suna for much longer.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point where I am actively thinking about leaving this game because I don't want to be I don't want to have to deal with him anymore. And that would suck.
Well, Sonny'd rather kick him out too, so I think it's pretty much come to that. If he does this again, I don't know.
I mean, we'll have to find a new DM, but
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, Anthony, he's just such a tool sometimes.
Anthony.
He just joined the chat. I'm trying to mess with him.
Oh, I didn't know what just
happened. That's fine. I've been running games for years, guys.
We're just having a little bit of a conversation about our Saturday game.
How do you go about kicking someone out of a game that just doesn't mesh well with the party?
So, I have actually had to kick a couple of people out before.
I know how not to do it, and that's just to kick them from the game without saying anything. Kick them from the Skype chat.
Yeah, that's usually not a good deal. Typically, so we had I had an earlier game for 4th edition, and we had a player who made a fairly high number of pedophile type references.
Ooh.
And you're not referencing me, are you?
No. This was at an uncomfortable level, and everybody.
Was it character to character or player to player?
It was kind of both. And the first time it happened, I kind of waited till the game ended, and I asked the player to stick around for a minute once everybody was off. I'm like, look, you need to understand something. I can't have you saying these kinds of things in this game. I'm not comfortable with it. Players aren't comfortable with it. You just got to stop. And he's like, oh, sure. Next game, it's like, 15 minutes in. And I actually had to stop the game. I'm like, dude, we talked about this. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to leave. We can talk about it later if you want to, but you're done. And basically it's one of those that was a situation where I wasn't just going to let it keep going because no matter how much we talked, it wasn't going to change. You know, the individual that we had as Lithia / Quintessa, you know, I kind of got where he was going with the character and even with Quintessa. But on the flip side, it's one of the reasons why I generally tell people no evil characters in the game unless they're going to be lawful evil. Just because it tends to be disruptive to the other characters if you're playing your character correctly. And sooner or later, they're going to kill you anyway.
I don't agree with that, but I agree with where you're going with it.
Oh no! I mean, literally, I've had a couple of people who insisted that they could play an evil character and play it in a subterfuge manner. And I got a paladin who's going, that was a purely evil act. My character is not going to stand for this. So I'm like, I understand. And the paladin puts him down.
Okay. David, would you like to touch on that?
What about your character?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, first of all, you still fall under Anthony's rule because you're lawful evil.
That's true.
So, and I still think you could. I think if you're going to play an evil campaign, kind of like what we're doing on Saturday, it's got to be with people that know each other. And we agreed beforehand that we were going to work together as a party. We made our characters kind of around that.
Well, and if you're running an evil campaign, that's kind of okay.
But yeah, I see what you're meaning, because it's not like it's a typical good party with just an evil character in it.
Right.
No, we were all shades of evil. And we all had our goals. Yeah, it's like, oh, you guys have been doing any evil deeds. You're not evil anymore. It's like, well, we haven't really had a chance.
We tried to kill Santa.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget, we killed those courier guys just to steal their ponies.
I've been robbing people for months.
Hopefully not the party, right?
Not you guys.
Wink, wink. So, yeah, I mean, typically it's one of those of, if one person wants to kill another person's character kind of just because, it's like, I might allow them to make the attempt, but I've already prepared the other character to somehow circumvent the attack. If it's the party in general, that's kind of a different story. Because if the party in general is very unhappy with that character, it's going to be one of those of, I can maybe protect that character, but eventually somebody's just going to straight up kill him.
Well, in this case, I don't think it's so much the character as the player that's the problem.
Yeah, because it's not just this character; it's every character this person plays.
See, and that's that's unfortunate.
He wants to be the main character of the game, and he can't quite play as a party member.
How old is this player?
He's like 30 something, I think.
Oh,
like
wow.
35, maybe.
Yeah, see, that's a situation I don't cut too much slack there.
So, in the one I'm running, let's put it this way. Every character in the game has a backstory that ties them to the land. Like, Ryland's character is the noble in charge of this little island. Sonny made his character to be like some scoundrel that ended up getting caught by Ryland's character and kind of, is his servant now. And then you have Kyle's character, who is the one of the few priests of the island. So like he has his own church and whatnot. And then Ardell's character, he kind of tied in a little bit less loosely. He was a shipwrecked sailor after a pirate attack, and pirates are, roaming the seas around the island, so he can't really leave the island because of the pirates. So Brandon doesn't know that, but now he does. And then even Cool Story Bros, which is the guy that's having the problem. Even his girlfriend, fiance, I don't know.
I think it's girlfriend.
Even her character has a connection to the island because she was the paladin that was hanging out with Ryland's character's dad, who was the former noble, who was actually a bad guy, and he was stealing money and he was throwing these parties, but she didn't know any better. But once they found out, she feels bad and feels like she needs to stay and help people on the island because she participated in these parties. Fuck, so yeah, idiots. Even her has a connection to the island. They all have a reason to stick together and work. And then his character is a monk that used to be a pit fighter. That's literally it. He has no connection to anyone on the island. He has no connection to the island. And then as we're playing, he keeps trying to claim everything. So like there was a boat, they killed some people, and there was kind of one of the pirate boats from their fleet came in. It was damaged, and they're taking over town to try to get it repaired. Well, they killed the pirates, and they're like, "Well, this is my boat now, my boat." And then later on, they go fight this town, or they go save a town from zombies. Find out that all the zombies are actually the townsfolk, and they finally manage to save them. And but one of the people that died was the tavern owner. So what's the first thing you do? My tavern now. That's not.
Yeah, and even when we tried to explain, like, no, that's not, you can't do that. That's illegal. And he's like, well, it's my tavern. Who's going to stop me? Well, me. I own the land.
Yeah, and if it's something, see, that's where, if this was happening in a town, it would be the old-fashioned tar and feathered, tied to a pole and ran out of town.
But Anthony, we're only into the second session.
Oh, wow.
No, I don't mean the game. This is what he's done within 2 sessions. So the very first session, I forgot about this, but I should tell you because Sonny and I were talking about it. The very first session we had, the party meets up. They do their little intro stuff. And, they finally get the first look at the campaign. Is the other town is under attack? You need to go help them. Everyone else is getting together to talk, and the first thing he does is like, well, "I'm going to go help them." I run off. Literally runs off the edge of the screen of the Roll20 campaign.
And isn't it like a 10-hour walk?
Yes.
And he's like, "I'm sprinting."
And then he says, "Well, no one's stopping me, so I'm just going to keep doing it." It's like, dude, that's not how this works. You don't. The party's not supposed to find a way to keep you. You're supposed to find a way to stay with the party.
Yeah.
At least that's how I see it.
Hey, Wade, I think you got some odd background noise.
So he runs in on his own, and he's like, "Well," and I think he was a little upset that no one tried to stop his character. He's like, that's no one knows your character. No one gives a crap about your character. You have the least amount of tie into this island and to anyone else.
I want to real quick list the suicidal things that this guy has done.
Let's do it.
In, I believe it was 3 sessions. Session 1, he runs up ahead and attacks goblins in a cave, circumventing it. Attacking wolves. He runs ahead of everyone else before we can even formulate a plan.
Oh yeah, I remember that because I was saying Leroy Jenkins when you guys brought that up.
Gets attacked and torn apart by wolves. We eventually have to save him. Then he runs ahead again and does the same thing with a group of goblins. Goes down instantly. We have to drag him out of the cave and run away back to town. And number 3, not even 10 seconds later, he decides that he would rather camp outside the cave instead of returning to town. So he climbs a tree, and when we tell him we're going back to town, he says, "Okay, you guys can all go back to town. I'm going to camp up in this tree." Of course, he gets captured by goblins.
Who is this?
One of the characters in... One of the people. Not characters. People. in my Saturday campaign.
So
Me and David and Sonny's.
yeah, that's a character that I would. The next time the character dies, I'd just be like, so I go up and saw his head off.
That's the thing. No PvP rule. We can't do any PvP. So that's the first session of that game.
So I find a goblin.
That was the first session.
I find a goblin. I give a goblin a large rock, and goblin smashes said character in the face.
But it's not the character; it's the person.
Sure.
Because that's one of two different games that we play.
Don't get hung up on his character killing his character off. He's already killed the character off.
Have you guys actually talked to the DM about this besides the...
Yes.
Well, I mean...
We've talked to him in person. We've talked to him in character. We've talked to him as a group. And I am all for including people in D&D.
Sure.
And I feel... Like, the side tangent real quick. There used to be a player named Evan in the stream game that I'm in, Dice Ministry. We agreed that he was not a good fit for the show, but everyone handled it in a very poor way, and I'm 100% fine with expressing it to all of them. We met without meeting with him, and unanimously put it to a vote that we were going to talk to him. The next thing that I come to find out, he is kicked from the group through a text message.
Yeah, that's just kind of poor class.
And I am 100% on the train of no, this need to be, like, he had been spoken to several times, but we need to have a group discussion with him.
Well, yeah, that, I mean, you should be gracious when you're trying to tell somebody they gotta go.
Yeah, and you do it in person, you do not do it in text message, and you do not do it 30 minutes before the game starts.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess what I would say is if you have talked to your DM and they're not doing any kind of corrective action, at that point you probably need to find a new DM.
This player, however, and David's one of the DMs, so careful.
Okay.
But the thing about this guy is if you try to correct him, he does this unique little thing where he will try to kill his character off more than he used to.
Okay. I see what Anthony's saying. I think Brad, we just need to talk to Kyle first. Because get what Kyle's opinion is on this. And then, just tell him. And then just tell him for the next session, like before we start, hey, we're having issues with you. You're not really a team player. It's just either you approve or you're out. Unfortunately, is anyone enjoying the game?
I have started leaving early because I'm sick of him.
There it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do this for fun, relax, do something besides earn a living. If you dread going to that thing, there's something wrong. And the other thing is the other DM of the Saturday session, he used to play on a Sunday game with him. They've already kicked him out of that game. Yeah. So he's getting pretty close to, I guess really close to this one too. The other side of this, as I'm listening to you guys, what came also into my head was this guy is it always like suicidal situations, no win?
No.
No? Oh.
There were times where it was... Okay, it's just stupidity. What it is, like, 2 owlbears. There's 2 owlbears ahead of you.
Yeah.
Everyone sees them. They haven't seen you yet. Okay, I charge ahead and I attack them. Okay.
Or the better example is what happened just recently. Oh, we left a dungeon, took a long rest, came back, there was a cave-in. We get attacked by stuff. We fight the stuff, we win. As the rest of the party is trying to figure out how to clear the cave-in, he dimension doors past it. by
Doesn't
himself.
just Dimension Doors alone, standing in a group of people that would be absolutely willing to go with him. He wants to be the main character.
That's exactly what it is. He has to be the main character.
And that's just it. We're not doing the story of.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's not his story. He's got to find a way to be with the party, not the party as the supporting characters to him.
Yeah, this definitely is going to require a sit down. Basically, given what you said so far, I'd be like, look, we need this to proceed in a group fashion. Please don't be offended, but you are not the star of the show here. And basically just say, these and cite the explicit examples and go, these are the things that make us want to not have you part of this campaign. And,
that's just how my character is.
Yeah, my response to that is
that is how you are.
That is not an appropriate response for what is a problem. You're disrupting the game. You're
Yeah, he really is. I'm reaching out to Kyle right now to see how he thinks about it.
And I have had an individual in a campaign that was like that. The guy, David's rule focused. I get it. And every game I always got a basically kind of a rules guy, and that's cool. And in fact, in a lot of ways, it's helpful to me because let's put it this way: I've been playing D&D for almost 40 years,
and I've been alive.
And I have played so many different rule sets that even when I read the 5e rules, one of the problems for me is 5e is so similar to the AD&D that I sometimes get those rules mixed up.
I get it, and just to be clear, Anthony, I may be a rules lawyer, but I also believe DM has final say, so you can tell me to shut the fuck up.
Well, and it's always one of those. I try to be flexible, so everybody does have fun. But we had an individual who was playing in the group who was, you must stick to the letter of the law in this thing, and he did it 4 or 5 times, and the players as a group, before I even got involved, were trying to, I guess you could say, talk him off the ledge because he was freaking out. He just could not handle the dynamics of my game, and they're like, it's okay, just hang loose with it. And he's like, nope, I just don't fit into this game. I'm leaving. It's like, and I actually had left for one of our short breaks like we have. And when I came back, they're like, well, he decided to leave. I'm like, oh, okay.
Just get off my bones.
Oh,
It's that kind of stuff is just hard for me personally, just because before.
So the first thing I got to tell you, you can't take this stuff personally, man. You can't.
Yeah, I know, but I can name 3 people that were my friends from the age of 10 years old to 18 years old. I have never been a part of a group of people. It's always been me and maybe 2 others. So
yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from.
Is my inclusive group, the group that I've been a part of, and it's the group that I want others to feel welcome into. And, you know, kicking people out of that group just is hard for me.
Well, there comes a point when you're carrying other people's problems and enabling it to your own, your own sacrifice, detriment, whatever you call it. And then it's like your behavior. Guys, honestly, I just did this 2 weeks ago with one of my best friends. He kept preaching to people on the table, you're an idiot, you shouldn't be doing that. Finally, I stopped and said, do you have any idea how disruptive you are to your group of friends that are sitting around this table? He kind of looked at me, he looked around, and everyone else was nodding. I said, chill the fuck out. Play your character, shut up, let everybody else play theirs. He's going to look at me and said, I'm sorry to be that blunt, my friend, but you don't mind pissing everyone else at the table off, so I'll give it right back to you. Cool out.
Yeah.
And let's face it, in every group, you have one or two people who tend to be more interactive than the others. I even have one group where I had a guy who basically didn't interact with the party for 5 or 6 sessions. I mean, he literally would sit there and go, I'm going to take a nap while the rest of the party's fighting. And it's like, I was at the point, I'm like, okay, are you really interested in playing or not? It's just the individual themselves was so introvert that they were trying to figure out everybody else so they could figure out where they fit in. Now, eventually, this individual wound up being a very significant player in the campaign, but it took a while for that individual to get there.
He just didn't know how to interact.
Yeah. Lacked a lot of...
New role player.
Yeah, supposedly he had played once before, but I unfortunately have run into so many people who have had terrible DMs, and I don't necessarily think of myself as a great DM. I do think I'm okay, generally, just because I try to make sure everybody enjoys themselves.
That's rule number 1. Enjoy the game.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you guys need to sit down. You need to hash it out with whoever your other DM is. Come to an understanding of some kind.
Hello. I am still on my phone right now. I'm still trying to get onto Skype on the computer.
Come on, loser. Get on Skype, loser.
You're a loser.
Actually, Rylan might have been the one that had the rules guy that left on his own. Or not Rylan, Eric. I'm sorry.
Okay. Me? What's up, man?
Oh, were you in the campaign that we had the guy that was like really kind of self-strict about the rules of the game and wound up leaving on his own because he didn't like the style of game we were playing?
Let me think.
He was very argumentative, as I recall, with everybody.
Was he from Canada? Was he American? Do you remember what he played? Because during our game, there was a few people that
I know came and went. Yeah.
No, not even came and went. There was a few people that had to be put in their place type situation. As that sounds like there was a guy that was a warlock that I was helping him because he didn't know how to level up his character and things like that. I was helping them, and then he jumped down my throat for some odd reason, and I caused everyone else to attack him.
Yeah.
And then there was the guy that annoyed everyone because he was the bad power gamer that it was cool to bend the rules for him, but when bending rules against him, that was the line.
I believe that was the individual that wound up leaving on his own.
He was playing like a rogue or something like that.
I think so. And he left like mid-session.
I think so. I think that might have been it. Like, we ended up killing his character.
Yeah.
And it was
because he had the bar.
Like, he was a meta killing kind of thing. Like, it was like because we frustrated us so much.
So yeah, I mean, and then I had a guy from Japan. His name was Toka Genwa. First time playing D&D. He played great, and he loved the game. And he was actually one of the first players I had on Roll20.
I can't remember if our group was the first group he had as 5E. I think we were.
I think it was, yeah.
So we're all like, because that's when like 5E had only been out for like 6 months or something like that. We're all still trying to get used to it. Well, everything was new to me back then since you were like one of my first DMs.
Well, actually, the final book had only been out for like 6 weeks because we started playing in January. I had gotten like the first book in August. The second book was released in like October. And I want to say it was either the DM's Guide or it had to be the DM's Guide or the Monster Manual. And it was released like first week of December.
Yeah, I just remember everyone still trying to figure out the rules when we were playing, or like, because there was a lot of like backtracking to like Pathfinder or 3.5, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I have never played any of those.
Yeah.
And 4E was something that was not to be named. I'm like, I don't even understand it.
Well, and at that time too, we also had the additional complication of Roll20 hadn't really updated the character sheets to 5e standards.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a complicated character sheet. I was like,
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm still trying to log in, but at least I'm here, so if you wanted to get the game going. I don't know if we're missing anyone else.
Actually, we are. And we're next? Oh, yeah, you got to get in the game, and then, yeah. But, yeah, we've been, having this discussion. It'll make a great roundtable
opener.
YouTube.
Yeah, I just remembered. Yeah, I just remembered that rogue. Like, that was those two in particular had to be dealt with by players.
Well, and I even had the rogue come back as a NPC at one point.
And we killed him.
Yep.
We killed him. He did not last 10 minutes.
Rude.
Well, he made the perfect villain.
I think it went along the lines of Hold Person and then Annihilation from a Paladin and and some other things.
Other things you say?
Well,
yeah,
I made him an agent of Asmodeus, so they kind of had to put him down.
Yeah, well, we also kind of, how should I say, one person made a bowling ball out of his head.
Yeah, I remember
That's
that.
Fucked up.
Oh, what is it? Mystery Men. Garofalo has the bowling ball with her dad's head in it.
Oh.
Yeah, the barbarian made a bowling ball out of his head.
It's an interesting group.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, there were certain, like, you know how, I have no problem with power gaming. Everyone, I'm kind of a power gamer. There's a lot of people power gaming, but there's the bad power gamer that always bends the rules. Like, no matter, towards their favor. But if you use those same rules that they're bending towards them, then they become the rule lawyer.
All right. Well, let's see. Where were we? Oh, yeah.
We went to bed.
People were skinning